primarily with Eisenhower and going on until the Reagan years. During this time, atheists were vilified as being sort of in the same boat as communists. They were these godless communists were over there.
Not just then, we still get that.
We still get a lot of that, but it was especially bad in the 50s. And a lot of atheists, I think, abandoned the term atheist and became, many of them turned into humanists. And
yeah, I don't know, the communist epithet in general seems to have made a resurgence in the last few years.
Well, it seems to come and go, doesn't it? But atheism and communism have nothing to do with each other.
Right.
Atheism
exactly.
is about a belief in God, and communism is sort of how you a certain way of running a society, and they don't have anything to do with each other. So all of this culminated in the breakup of the USSR during the Reagan years, and Reagan really pushed these sorts of ideas. So we're more like Russia than we care to admit. Playing up religion was a propaganda device, and it caused a lot of harm to the Constitution. It really sabotaged the church-state separation idea enshrined in the First Amendment of the Constitution. The vilification of atheists who had contributed a lot, such as Alan Turing and Einstein, had contributed a lot during the war. The things that these people did were not even recognized properly, I don't think, as having come from atheists. So the spin, we have a puffing up over the religious influence of the U.S. and claiming superiority of God belief, and those are some of the spin things. And what we see out of this is that we see the religions taking the opportunity to try to co-opt the government to promote Christian ideas and Christian values. I think that's what we see out of that. The last big event I wanted to mention, and then we'll take some callers soon. So guys, you got the number up already? That's good. The last big event is really kind of a series of things having to do with the Middle East. So I've labeled it Middle East tensions. So we have the founding of the State of Israel in the 60s. We have the notion of Zionism, of the Jewish nationalism, of Jews wanting to have their own nation, which is not a terrible thing. We have a rekindling of the Abrahamic covenant ideas that God supposedly gave the Jews this land, and it was sort of all theirs. But this land was taken from Palestinian natives, so that caused a lot of tension. We have a lot of Islamic frustration with the U.S. involvement in the Middle East for reasons of oil and because of our relationship with Israel. We're kind of Israel's big brother. And, a lot of this has come to the head in the 9/11 attacks, right? Mm-hmm. So the point here is that Muslims worship the same God as the Christians and the Jews, and Islam and Judaism has traditionally had few disagreements until more recently, until the founding of the State of Israel. And so, for example, some of the food laws are very similar and a similar theology, and the differences are actually more stark between Christianity and Judaism and Islam and Christianity. So Christianity is kind of the outlier as far as a lot of these beliefs. The Abrahamic covenant is a joke. If you go back and try to look it up in the Bible, there's a claim from God that Israel shall rule this land forever, and that just didn't happen, right? So the fact that you go back there is not a fulfillment in any way of the covenant.
Right, but I think an important point here is that a lot of fundamentalist Christians, especially the ones who are politically active, think there is. So,
oh yeah.
So I mean, they actually, I've heard a lot of discussion about how fundamentalist Christians think it's important to prop up the State of Israel because of the vital role that it plays in the in the apocalypse that they're all hoping will come and, rapture them up like in Left Behind.
Yeah, and it's kind of it's called Christian Zionism. It's rather twisted.
It's kind of creepy because I know fewer Jews who are gung-ho about Israel than I do Christians.
Yes, yes. And I see this as kind of the Christians, the Christian Zionists, which is kind of a subgroup, if you will, of Christians here in the U.S., and Israel kind of using each other, right? The Christian Zionists say they want to have their biblical prophecy crap, and they believe that certain things have to happen in the Middle East before they can go and be raptured up to heaven and the second coming and all that crap. And it's really kind of a very twisted,
Creepy.
creepy, misanthropic sort of belief, I think, because during this rapturing, most of the Jews and most of the non-Christians are going to get killed as part of this,
and go to hell where they'll be tortured
yeah,
forever.
Yeah,
I mean, they're not saved.
Hooray for Jesus, right? But on the so the Christians are sort of using the Jews in this respect, and that they want these events to try to play out in their fantasy world. But Israel is kind of using U.S. Christians, in order to further public aid or further foreign aid to Israel.
Right.
So this is a very sick sort of relationship, I think. And of course, the U.S. is in the Middle East because of oil, which is really not a religious thing. Right? So it all has to do with about our love affair with cars, and our hungry industry needing oil. And many complaints that that the Middle East, especially Islamic countries, have against the U.S. are valid. We have been very heavy-handed with our foreign policy, and a lot of things we've done over there are pretty reprehensible, at least to me. Not all of them, but. I think that there's some validity to these complaints, and not that flying a plane into a building is the way to deal with those. But so there's a claim that Islam is somehow different, but that's not really true. So that's one of the spins that we see out of this. We see spin as treating the U.S. involvement in the Middle East as some sort of mandate from God, as ordained, and not really caring about people in the Middle East as people and as sovereign nations and these sorts of things. We see a lot of that. And this has led to a kind of a form of Christian imperialism, which has been kind of lumped under the phrase of U.S. exceptionalism, which is this idea that the U.S., because of its association with God or whatever, we can go do anything we want. And to hell with everybody else, and we're just going to go and steal oil or do whatever we need to do, and God's on our side. And it's very much like the Gott mit uns from the Hitler era of God's on our side, screw you, we're gonna trample on you. So the result of the spin is we've had the 9/11 attacks, we've had the war in the Middle East that's gone on and on, we've had a kind of a bankruptcy of the U.S. We're spending huge amounts of money, we have deaths of soldiers, and a non-sustainable economy as resulting of this. And I think that these sorts of things are very serious and are sort of tearing apart our nation. So in summary, this Judeo-Christian term is used as a propaganda device to advance Christianity, especially their political motivations. And I see this term as part of a big web of lies with bad consequences for our nation. And it seems that the lies are necessary for Christianity because they don't have the truth. They don't have the facts on their side. And most believers can't tell the difference between a lie and the truth. So I think
or
care, right? And people who use this word should be forced to confront the real meaning of the term and its impact on the world. So that's my little presentation. We got lots of callers. Did you have anything you wanted to say to sum up?
Nope.
Okay.
Not at the moment.
Okay.
I guess I would be a little curious about where Mormons fit in, but I'm not.
Yeah.
I don't think we should necessarily go off on that tangent unless we run out of
Good
callers.
questions, because Mormonism is kind of a bastard child off of Christianity.
Maybe next month.
Maybe next month, but
okay. So we have. Let's see. We're going to start with Krista in Austin. Hello. Are you there? Hi.
Thanks for waiting. What do you got?
So I'm an atheist. My husband is agnostic, and we have been discussing children. We are not there yet. So if we went the old-fashioned way, it's a no-brainer. They would be raised without religion. But if we adopt a kid, they may come preloaded with a religion. What would you do?
Well, you can adopt a younger kid.
Return it because it's defective?
No. Preloaded, yeah. It's not a... There's this great quote by one of the, I forget which priest or pope. He sort of said, give me a child until they're 7 and they're mine forever, and it's just very creepy.
Yeah.
So there's some truth to what you say. Are you thinking of adopting an older kid? Is that what you're? Because I don't think this would be an issue with a younger kid.
Probably.
I mean, if it's a younger kid, how much are they going to remember? Depending on how young they are anyway.
Right.
I mean, it would probably be, 6 or older, where